Welcome back to the Deadology Podcast from Pencil Hill Studio, New Paltz, New York. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. This is Season 2, Episode 24 of the podcast. Today is June 23rd, 2024, and by the time I finish the podcast, it will be June 24th. And that works out perfectly because the Grateful Dead shows we're going to look at are from June 23rd and June 24th, 1984, the 40th anniversary of the City Island Harrisburg show, and the following night in Saratoga Performing Arts Center. Very memorable shows and times. Let's begin with Harrisburg, man. Get right to it. And before we get to the 40th anniversary show, I'll give you a little background on Harrisburg and the year before. So the first time the Grateful Dead played at City Island, Harrisburg, June 22nd, 83, almost a year before the show, almost exactly on the same date as the show the year after, which we're going to look at on the 40th anniversary. Nice little show. The first set wasn't very long. It was only 6 songs, and it wasn't the most desirable set list, but I think they played pretty good. So it really didn't stand out. There were other shows from that 1983 tour that were better, but the 1984 show makes up for it, and then some. But a couple cool things about that first year in Harrisburg. The Grateful Dead only played City Island twice. So that June 22nd show is the only live footage I have of me being at a Grateful Dead concert. And here's how that came about. Pretty funny. Me and Doug Schmell, who's been a guest several times on the podcast. About 5 years ago, Larry, who went to school with Doug, toured with the Grateful Dead with us. He sent me an email. He's like, "You're not going to believe this. I just found you on YouTube footage of a news clip from Harrisburg, you and Doug, from the show in 1983. And I had no idea that we made the news that night in Harrisburg, or it just so happened that this YouTube clip he was watching, and he saw us there. And for 5 seconds, in the middle of the clip, the camera is right on top of me and Doug. It's a great little piece of footage. I've done screenshots of it. It's the coolest thing I have from my touring days of photographs or videos. And it's perfect, man, because Doug's got a tie-dye on. He's dancing freely, having the best time. They're playing like Feel Like a Stranger. And I'm kind of standing there, air guitar during The Stranger, and you could see the wheels in my head spinning, like, what's coming next? You know, man, are they going to do Birdsong next, Althea? So it kind of captured us perfectly in the moment back in 83. Yeah, Larry, thanks for finding that, man. It's a great little piece of history for me and Doug there. And in 2022, I wrote a book called The Grateful Pilgrimage, where I went back to the entire 1983 East Coast tour and the anniversary dates. Went back to all the places, went to Lake Placid, went to Madison Square Garden on the anniversary dates, and listened to the Grateful Dead shows. On my way to the first stop, I was passing some places. I passed like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, so I stopped off at Lehigh and Stabler Arena, which is kind of like a musical shrine. Garcia and the Grateful Dead played there in 1981, incredible shows. And I was pretty close to Harrisburg. I was like, let me go back and see City Island, man. And the last time I'd been in City Island is 1984 at this show I'm about to talk about. And so I get there. I go over the bridge. It's almost exactly as it was. They did a couple little alterations. The City Island is still there. They built a minor league ballpark, which takes up about half of the field where the Grateful Dead played that night. They stopped having concerts there. I believe a local told me, I could probably look this up, but I believe the last concert they had there was about 1990. So they built this minor league ballpark, and they left about half of the field, which is used for it's like an athletic field now. When I went back and visited the place there was like a young adult kickball league going on, 10 kickball games at the same time, which was pretty crazy. Never seen a kickball league in action, but there you go, man. And it struck me because it was like it was 40 years earlier, except for the minor league ballpark being there. Just this beautiful big field, and the Susquehanna River, I believe that's how you say it, right there, and the city of Harrisburg just lit up beautifully in the background. So it was cool to go back there and see that again, man. What a great field to see the Grateful Dead on. And the same kind of metal stands that they had for the Dead show were still there. So, yeah, just too bad they don't do concerts there anymore. It's a great little place, City Island. And now, June 23rd, 1984, let's go back in time, man. Grateful Dead. I took the trip to Harrisburg with Stan and Perry Paletta. Perry Paletta was on the show, the Music Mountain episode, a couple weeks ago. And Stan, his brother, a little older than us. This guy was the most fun person in the world to go to a Grateful Dead show with, man. Just like totally in the moment, loving the music, and at the same time, incredibly funny, nonstop all night. So, a great guy to go on tour with, man. So, very lucky to be there with Perry and Stan. I had a ticket; they didn't have tickets, but City Island was the type of place it was fairly easy to get in. If you didn't have a ticket, they found that magical passage in for free. They were willing to pay, but I think it was sold out. So they found their way in. Dead take the stage. They had just come from Toronto 2 nights earlier. They played in Toronto. Very good show. I think they played with the band that night. It was broadcast on the radio, so I very much remember listening to it live as it was happening, simulcast on the radio. So they opened up the Harrisburg show, typical opener, Alabama Getaway, Promised Land, but it was way hotter than typical. They came out smoking on this night. And it even kind of surprised me as I listened to the tape. This particular Harrisburg show, the music never stopped, and the Estimated Eyes I always go to for versions that I want to hear again. So sometimes if I just have 15, 20 minutes to kill, I'll pick out those versions, but I hadn't heard the tape in its entirety in a while. And the Harrisburg show, very, very pleasing and almost surprising how consistent and good the Grateful Dead were, because in 1984 you get a lot of mixed stuff, good song, bad song, great song, all over the place. But the surprising thing about this show all the way through, consistency. Promised Land's always hot after Getaway, Peggy-O, and a beautiful to the third song. Jerry singing well, great little jam. Little Red Rooster follows. And by 1984, and I think I've mentioned this in earlier podcasts, we get some Rooster Jam confusion, as happens on a lot of blues tunes at this time. Back in 1982, when Garcia would play a Rooster or a CC Rider, it would be that little Brent to Bob Weir slide, and then Jerry would just take off, unfettered, brilliant. You would have to stop the tape and rewind it a lot of times because it would be that hot. But by this time in 84, either Jerry got a little tired of playing it, or Bobby overextended his slide work into Garcia's solo, whatever. However it worked out, it just wasn't as hot as the years before, but it still was great. This is a good Rooster, fourth song. And Brown Eyed Women was fifth. And just to give you a feel of how good they were on this night, and every song was, here's a little bit of that Brown Eyed Women, fifth song from June 23rd, 84, City Island, Harrisburg.
Sound of thunder with the rain pouring down, and it looks like the old man getting on. over, you know the rest was sin. Rainy State boys only I turned bad. Didn't get the lickings that the other ones had. Brown-eyed women, a red-dreaded team. The bottle was dusty, but the liquor was clean. The sound of the thunder with the rain pouring down, and it looks like the old man getting on.
Some sweet, sweet playing there from Jerry and the boys. You could tell they got their groove going. The holy mojo was rolling in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on this night. One thing I forgot to mention as I'm introducing this show was we're 1984 here. This is only five years removed from the biggest nuclear accident in American history at 3 Mile Island, which was about 15 miles away from Harrisburg. And it was something, in some way, it was on everybody's mind both years, because those plants were still there. Crazy things were still going on. They were recovering cranes from there. So really came close to a serious meltdown situation. There would have been no Grateful Dead concerts. There would have been no Central Pennsylvania if it was any worse, man. So it was just a crazy time, and thankfully we were there at City Island enjoying music with pretty much without a care in the world. But only 5 years removed from the nightmare that was the 3 Mile Island accident of 1979. But getting back to the good stuff, the Grateful Dead, you got a Brown-Eyed Women followed by Brother Esau. This is a pretty cool version. I like it better than most. A little more upbeat than your typical Brother Esau. They got a good groove going on. Following Brother Esau is Big Railroad Blues. And in this time period, the middle 80s, this was a major song. Big Railroad, they kicked ass on it, basically. And in Worcester, 83, 84, those are two of the best versions of Big Railroad. This one's great as well. Always, when you heard Big Railroad, good things were imminent. The band was on a roll. So I think we're at about song, that was either 7 or 8. I think it was the 8th song of the night. Big Railroad Blues, great version. And they took it right into Music Never Stopped. One of my favorite tunes to see live. And this music from Harrisburg is definitely the best one from the period of 1983 through 1986. There was about 4 years of music where you would just get insane versions, and that ranged from about 1977 to 1981. Where it was it was insane. They played it a lot, great versions. And then it hit kind of a lull in this period, especially 83 to 86. They would only play it about 5-6 times a year, so it was pretty rare. And the versions weren't as good as they were, with the exception of this. I mean, there's some other good versions, but this one from Harrisburg, I think, is definitely the best from this time period. It's 9 minutes long, and the jam's pretty incredible here. So they start off, Garcia gets into a nice groove, and then it kind of plateaus. They're just digging the rhythm. Then Bob Weir kind of escalates this. He starts strumming some quick chord rhythms, and he definitely got Garcia's attention, and Garcia took his game up a notch, and what a powerful finish to this Music Never Stopped. I love this version. Check it out. awesome instrumental there, Harrisburg, and yet the music didn't stop. Usually after a great jam like that, it would be the end of the set, but on this night in Harrisburg, they rolled on and added Don't Ease Me into the first set, and I tell you, I must have been skipping around the field of Harrisburg, man, happy as could be, man. Don't Ease Me In is like the funniest song. It's a good song, very good song. Never did harm to anybody. I enjoy it quite a lot. But back in the day, catching it at a Grateful Dead show, when it ended the first set, either it meant an abrupt ending, and usually you'd be like, oh no, the set's over. Or if it came in a situation like this, after a great music never stopped, it was a total celebration. Couldn't be happier to hear Don't Ease Me In, as was the case for me and probably everybody else in Harrisburg on that night, which was a Saturday night, June 23rd, 84, 40 years ago today. Unbelievable, 40 years ago. Crazy, man. Well, it seems like 40 years, but it was 40 years ago. And between sets, I found my friends happy to know they got in. Stan and Perry got in, and we enjoyed the second set together. They kicked that off with Touch of Grey, very good sounding Touch of Grey. They were still about 3 years away from becoming the Grateful Dead's first hit song, and Touch of Grey gave way to Estimated Prophet, which went into, believe it or not, Eyes of the World. So, hey, we get an Estimated Eyes here, but this is an exceptional version. Very solid Estimated. They're jamming at the end, and what the Grateful Dead do with this is amazing. Garcia kind of just jumps the gun at the end of this Estimated, and it's one of the coolest transitions you'll ever hear between Estimated and Eyes. And I'm going to play it in a second. So when I'm thinking of all-time great versions of Estimated Eyes, from the 80s. The 80s was weird with the Estimated Eyes because Eyes of the World went by way too quick in most circumstances. So I got the Hartford version, 10/14/83 from Dick's Picks Volume 6. I think that's probably the best. Providence, the first Estimated Eyes I saw, April 20th, 83, same year. They kind of took their time and really jammed out the eyes on these versions. And there's a few other good ones. There's Philly Spectrum, April 8th, 85. And I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but this one with Harrisburg, not quite at the top, but it's up there. Probably, definitely one of the better ones from the decade. But let's right now jump into that awesome transition, which really kind of sets the tone for this Estimated Eyes. Enjoy.
summer home. Ain't got time to call your soul. Right outside the lazy gate of winter summer home. Wondering where the nut-thatched winter means a mile long, just carry the burden away.
There you go, a turbocharged supersonic segue between Estimated Eyes and Harrisburg. And that Eyes of the World, Garcia keeps it cooking all the way through. It's definitely one of the quick-paced versions from the 80s, but there's no let up from the band. Nice outro jam, too, after they go through the verses. Over 10 minutes, so definitely a great Estimated Eyes. And then they go into drums. Now, very short, obviously a short before drums, but hey, as long as there's some memorable fireworks, I mean, 30 great minutes, especially for those listening on tape these days, 30 great minutes beats a 6-song pre-drums that give you really no highlights any day, man. So, very good Estimated Eyes. And boy, did they make up for it on the other side of drums and space. So just once again, the consistency. You're in this entire show. There's not like a clunker of a version, or you're cringing at the way Jerry's singing, or the band's not on for some reason. I was really surprised at just how good everything was. I listened to this twice coming in, and then I said one more time today, so 3 times I listened to the show in its entirety, and it's a pleasure. Just everything is so well played. So after drum space, we get a little 6-song post drums, which is nice. Well, 5 songs in the encore. So they come out of drums. Bob Weir breaks out the circus whistle. They go into trucking. Good little jam there, and then they just roll it into Spoonful. And this definitely is a song on its own, even though they didn't sing. It's like a nice 3-minute version of a Spoonful, really good jamming all around by the band. And then it goes into Black Peter. Pretty typical choice for this time period, especially coming after a trucking. But on this night, there's like nothing left undone, man. The ending jam of this Black Peter, excellent, man. One of the better Black Peters you'll ever hear. And we're going along typically here. Black Peter rolls into a round and around, and it's Saturday night, so we're out there in the crowd saying, "Yep, it's all but over here, man. One more Saturday night, and then we're going to move to the encore." But man, they were feeling it this night in Harrisburg, because after a round and around, Jerry opted to go for Going Down the Road, Feeling Bad. And this wasn't one of your quick hitting like 1980s versions, man. They really, Jerry took both jams all the way. Excellent version of Going Down the Road, Feeling Bad. And then came the Saturday night to end the set. So a very cool ending there. Just everything about this, man. As I'm listening back to this, I'm like, this should be an official release. There are better shows from 1984. Not a whole lot, but there are definitely better shows from 1984. But as far as consistency and something that you'd want to release and be proud to say, as an official release, the Grateful Dead did this. This is definitely one that could be officially released. And there's great audience tapes of it. Also, you're listening to a soundboard right now. So this is one I'd love to see get released. Definitely worthwhile. And especially because it closes out with Day Job, which was probably the number one hit list on Dead fans. I always kind of liked this song. But because it came in the encore slot, it probably took more heat than it should have. It was almost like a taunting, keep your day job. But it's a damn good song. There's no way around it. I like it better than Brother Esau and maybe a few other songs on the that came out on that album. But this is an excellent version because everything they did tonight in Harrisburg just clicked. So June 23rd, 1984, 4 stars, great show, Harrisburg, man. me, Stan, Perry were very happy, and we hit the road. And I think it's. I'm looking at my time right now. It's 11:40, so it's almost June 24th. We're probably on our way to Saratoga for the following night at this point, and another just interesting, wacky 1984 show coming your way in Saratoga. The Grateful Dead's second performance. Their first show in Saratoga a year earlier, June 18th, 1983. Saratoga. What a joyful place to see the Grateful Dead. Just everybody pouring into that town, the parking lots. An amazing party, man. Every the Grateful Dead played there 4 times, 83, 84, 85, 88. I wasn't there for 88. I was there for the first 3 years, seeing Dead and Company there. There's just something about pulling into that town of Saratoga. Perfect place for horse racing or the Grateful Dead. So this show in 1984 was hounded by rain. I think it was raining all night, but it's one of those nights where as the rain started, it just kept getting worse and worse all night until it was a monsoon. But yeah, another just interesting 84 night. So I listened to this twice, and I was kind of disappointed in the first set. So I wanted to listen to it a third time just to make sure. I wanted to hear the deal again. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't mishearing anything. I wasn't in a grouchy mood. So I just wanted to hear it again, and I came up with the same thing. Good thing is there's plenty to like in the second set. So first set, the story of the night is Good Intentions, especially the first set. The Grateful Dead came out. They wanted to perform. They were in a great mood. They wanted to do the best they could. Open up with Dancing in the Street. First version of Dancing in 3 years. The place is psyched. Decent little jam in the middle. The problem with Dancing in the Streets in the 80s it was a mere shell of what it was in the 70s. I mean, those versions from 70 and 77, 79, they're insane. When they played Dancing, it was usually one of the best songs of the night. Not so much in the 80s, definitely a shorter version. I think the best one I saw was Worcester 84. But anyway, hey, they're in Saratoga. Here you go. We're playing Dancing. Everything's great. And then song 2, Dire Wolf. Usually a great tune to hear, except right away you hear Jerry's voice is off big time from the start. He was much better sounding in Harrisburg. And then also, there's sound problems. I don't know what it is about the Saratoga venue, but the Grateful Dead had trouble dialing in there. And it's probably a number of things. I think, one, it's the acoustics. Also, it's the crowd in Saratoga was so excited. Every song, it was like, you're in Madison Square Garden almost. It was like the crowd happened to be that loud in Saratoga. And probably something about the acoustics of the venue, it was all kind of overwhelming. The band couldn't really hear each other or themselves that good. I think it's pretty obvious because I felt the same way listening to the 1983 tape, even though in 83 they played a great Scarlet Fire and a great Morning Dew. And, that show definitely is kind of revered. They overcame it, and they do some great stuff in the second set here, but they're definitely, once again, battling something here in Saratoga. Dire Wolf, Minglewood, Candyman, and the crowd's eating it up, man. Like this is the second coming. But when you listen to it, unfortunately, there's the reality of being there, which was amazing, and then there's the tape. And this is a tape I listened to it 3 times. I'll never listen to this first set again. So Garcia's voice a little hurting on the Candyman, but it's still pretty good. And then Uncle Maxicali, nothing could salvage. You figure, hey, maybe they could find like common ground here. Get everything back on track. But it's just off, man. It's just it's like they can't hear each other. The jams aren't coming through right. And then Ramble on Rose, forget it. this is the one where Jerry's voice is probably the worst, and just you want to pull a plug on this thing. It's and it's definitely not Jerry's voice. Like I said, the intentions are there. They're picking the right songs that ain't working. Eighth song of the set, Hell in a Bucket. Interesting about Bucket in Saratoga, they played it 4 times every time they were in Saratoga. If you want to hear the best Bucket ever, the 1985, June 27, 1985, that Hell in a Bucket is insane. I have that up on my Positively Garcia YouTube page. As most of these great versions I talk about, I usually have up on the Positively Garcia YouTube page. And then Bucket, the set closes out with Deal. Now, if the Grateful Dead weren't in a good mood and they didn't have good intentions, they wouldn't be playing Deal at this point. So they tried to make it happen, play Deal. The jam's okay, but once again, you could just hear it's not that Jerry's not having a good night. It's just there's something not connecting in the music. It's the weirdest thing. 83, 84, excellent years for Deal. Just to give you 3 quick versions that kill. We got Irvine, 3/27/83. Lake Placid, October 17th, 83. I think that's my favorite. And Cal Expo, just 2 weeks earlier. Unbelievable Deal. Garcia just going insane for like 5 minutes. And it sounded like that was the intention, but it's hard for me to, I listened to this 3 times. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I got to chalk it up to something was wrong with they probably should have taken a break and came out again and started the first set again at some point, because it's just not working. Now, second set, they come out raining harder, man. It's just raining harder and harder. They open up with I Need a Miracle, but you could sense that the music right now is, now it's the Grateful Dead. Things are kind of sounding right. They kind of, they've got into the mindset. The sound system's good, so things are going to take off for set 2 here. Miracle Bertha, hard charging Bertha, crowds amped up, ran into a rainstorm, pouring all night long, but not a drop on me. The crowd is going wild in Saratoga. It was like the perfect little opener to get things going. And then comes the jewel of this show, the gem. The next 3-song segment is, this is release worthy, man. So they do playing in the band. And sometimes whenever the Grateful Dead break into playing, if the show's not headed in the right direction, this is the perfect fix. Excellent jamming on this playing in the band, and they really settled into, you're like, this is the Grateful Dead. This is what it should be sounding like. And then from playing about 13 hot minutes of jamming, they slide into China Doll. My God, this version kills me. I've heard this when I go to this China Doll so much. This is my all-time favorite China Doll, hands down. So Jerry is not singing good on this night, but somehow the moment was there. The fragility of life, immortality. Garcia's probably in the worst health he's been in 1984, one of the worst years of his life, just from a health standpoint. He's 300 pounds, just in terrible shape, addicted to Persian, this and that, and he's singing this China Doll, and you could just hear all the emotion, all the heartbreak. Jerry's like a giant China Doll up there, man. It's just this version will give you the chills, man. It's the best. So without further ado, we'll take it from the guitar jam. When Garcia sings the next verse, it's good, but that final verse and the way he sings "Take Up Your China Doll," it's incredible, man. This is one of the best, some of the best singing of 1984, without a doubt. And it came in the midst of just a night where Jerry wasn't singing well. It's unbelievable what you're going to hear. Enjoy.
away. I will not condemn you, nor yet will I deny. I would ask the same of you, but failing will not die.
Wow. What do you say about something like that, man? Pretty incredible. Jerry just kind of stopping time in its tracks, man, drawing you into his world with the China Doll. And definitely the Grateful Dead at this point, man, they got it rolling. Everybody's listening to each other. If you really listen to that China Doll, you could hear Phil's playing amazing bass. And then even Jerry's listening to Brent. Brent does this little keyboard thing, and Jerry mimics it as he's singing. At the same time, he's singing the most heartfelt China Doll verse you'll ever hear. And then he's mimicking what Brent's doing on the keyboard with the guitar. Man, just the brilliance. Love that China Doll. And at this point, the band knew they had it going on, and they make it obvious. They're like, all right, the first set was a throwaway. We're going to make it count now. So after China Doll, usually they'll go into drums, and it sounds like they made the decision to go into drums. But I'm not sure who said, hey, we're hot, we're going to stay on the stage, we're going into Samson. But all of a sudden, what should be drums, somebody said something. It was probably weird. I'd imagine Bob, thank God, came up with the notion to go into Samson. He probably motioned to the drummer, said, hey, let's do Samson, knowing that maybe the first set wasn't as great as it should be, and they're on a roll here. And all of a sudden, I remember being at the concert. I was walking to go take a leak or maybe get a beer, whatever. You know it's over, drums is coming. Then all of a sudden, like, hey, that's the beat of Samson. And they rock out this Samson, man, one of the super great Samson. Much better, way above average, and just coming after that China Doll, just in a truly inspired moment. Once again, great intentions from the band on this night. So they hit the drums, bass. Hey, just once again, after that Samson, I think Weir stays on stage and just riffs the Samson chords as the drum solo starts for a while. So they were, Weir was all in. The band was just, they knew that they had it going on at this point. And I listened to this twice, and I thought this was the only highlight of the show. This little 3-segment part here playing China Doll Samson. But I'm glad I listened the third time because I really today enjoyed hearing the other one, Wharf Rat Mag again. It was better than I remembered it being. Other one, a lot of great noodling, and Phil is having a night on this night, man. You could just hear his playing, the blasts all over the place. He didn't let up for a second. He's probably the star of this other one, but it was really very good, but kind of like almost undercover, a little, not the usual other one where they just rock you out, man. Just lots of nuance, a lot of great jazzy playing in it. Cool version. Wharf Rat's good. I mean, once again, Jerry's singing is a little hurting here, but he gets help from Healy. Maybe a little too much because there's a lot of echo and reverb. At times it works. At times it's almost a little comical. Usually Healy would save this type of effect for weird vocals, but it's a pretty cool Wharf Rat. They jammed it out. It was better than I thought when I first heard it a couple times. Sugar Mag, pretty hot. Not like there are better other Wharf Rat Mag endings, so I'm not gonna overplay this, but it's good. There's generally a good other Wharf Rat, Sugar Mag, and once again the great intentions, man, because it's freaking pouring rain, and pretty much as you're into the Grateful Dead, you want to get the hell out of there, get back to your hotel. At least I think I did on that night because it was insane at that point. But hey, the band didn't take it. Once again, no shortcuts. Good other one, good Wharf Rat, Hot Sugar Mag, and they even did a double encore, which it's crazy. They played Satisfaction and then Broke Down Palace. Oh no, it wasn't Broke Down Palace. It was It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And I've heard better versions of those songs, but just for them to do that at this point, it was like, they wanted to just Saratoga, we love you, man. They were so into it that night, even if it wasn't at times, they weren't on top of their game. So just an amazing night in Saratoga. They gave you the double encore as sometimes they like to do during a summer tour. They would do that more often than during the regular year. Something I noticed, I don't have any exact stats on it, but the double encore seemed to be more of a summer thing than during spring or fall tours. And so they took a scrap of a first set, played a really good second set, double encore. In many ways, for so many of us who were there, it was such a memorable show. And the after party, sweet Jesus, this after party was crazy, man. It was 4 people in a hotel room. So after the rain, it was just a joyous thing to be able to go back to a hotel room. So we're in a hotel room in Saratoga, me, Perry, Stan, one of Stan's friends, and we had some yayo. It was 1984, so that's how it goes. We put on the TV, we're laughing, having a good time, and Psycho 2 comes on, the movie with the Hitchcock movie starring Anthony Perkins. And I think it was a recent release. I'm not a film critic. I think it was maybe only out a year or less at this time. We watched Psycho 2. It was incredible. I never seen Psycho 1. And, we're just in this hotel room having the best time. Great weed, great blow. Psycho 2. This is brilliant, man. Life doesn't get better than this. You see a couple of great we're coming off the Harrisburg, Saratoga shows. And then it's probably 4 a.m. and Psycho 1 comes on right on the heels of Psycho 2. We stayed up for that, man. So it was 6 straight hours of Anthony Perkins and Psycho. A night we'll never forget, man. It's, just some of the things we would do on the Grateful Dead tour before and after. But that Saratoga show, the Psycho, 6 hours of Psycho after seeing the Grateful Dead in the pouring rain for 3 hours. Just where in America are you going to get kicks like that? Just so strange and so awesome. Memories we'll never forget. Yeah, so hey, 40th anniversary is here. Can't believe it was 40 years ago, man. But Harrisburg, Saratoga, the memories live on. Go check out the tapes. Obviously, we'll be back next week with the podcast. I'm up in the air a little bit as to what to do next week because Bob Dylan has thrown a wrench into my schedule. So a couple of nights ago, I'm looking at, on Facebook, I noticed the Bob Dylan set list. For the first time in 20 years, he just threw out this crazy set list where he's doing all kinds of songs from all his career. Now, for the last 4 or 5 years, he's been locked into Rough and Rowdy Ways and playing the songs from that album, being pretty predictable. He's 83. God bless him, man. It's amazing that he goes out and does what he does. But all of a sudden, I'm looking at his set list. It's like Highway 61, Lovesick, all these great songs that I created that he hasn't touched in like at least 5 years. So, I'm going to be catching some Bob Dylan, and you got Willie Nelson and Robert Plant. So you got 3 great acts there, a little outlaw festival. So I'm not sure exactly what that's going to leave for my future, but I'm going to be in a few different cities. And I can always bring the computer and microphone along. I'm sure I'll get to a podcast next week and the following week with July 4th coming up. Just not sure exactly what I'm doing. But hey, thanks for listening, reminiscing with me, Harrisburg and Saratoga. I'm your host, Howard Weiner, website tangledupintunes.com. Love you guys, and peace out.